I can still hear the sound. It wakes me up in the middle of the night, even now, years later. It wasn't the crack of the whip that tore his flesh, nor the hammer striking the nails. It wasn't even the thunder that shook the earth when he breathed his last. The sound that broke me, the sound that shattered the man I thought I was something pathetic, common. A sound you hear every morning without thinking twice. It was the crowing of a rooster. I can still hear the sound. It wakes me up in the middle of the night, even now, years later. It wasn't the crack of the whip that tore his flesh, nor the hammer striking the nails. It wasn't even the thunder that shook the earth when he breathed his last. The sound that broke me, the sound that shattered the man I thought I was something pathetic, common. A sound you hear every morning without thinking twice. It was the crowing of a rooster. That piercing cry cut through the cold Jerusalem air and sliced right through my soul. Tu anjane else. It was just a bird announcing the dawn. To me, it was a death sentence. It was the moment the rock, that's what he called me, Cephas, the rock, crumbled into dust. I want to tell you how I got there, how I, the loudest disciple, the one who walked on water, the one who swore to die for him, ended up cowering by a fire, terrified of a servant girl. You have to understand who I was before that night. I was Simon. The fisherman. My hands were calloused from hauling nets, my skin weathered by the Galilean sun. I wasn't a scholar. I wasn't a man of polished words. I was a man of action. If there was a silence, I filled it. If there was a threat, I stepped in front of it. I loved him. I truly did. From the moment he told me to cast my nets on the other side and I saw the abundance he could bring, I was his. I became arrogant in that love. I thought my passion was enough. I thought my volume was the same thing as faith. I remember the dinner earlier that evening. The air was thick, heavy with a sorrow I couldn't understand. He was washing our feet, talking about betrayal, talking about leaving us. My heart was pounding in my chest. I couldn't stand the thought of him going where I couldn't follow. I looked him in the eye, surrounded by the others, and Primera Said Italiano. I said, Lord, I am ready to go with you both to prison and to death. I meant it. I felt the fire in my belly. I thought, let the Romans come. Let the temple guard come. I will cut them down. He looked at me then, not with pride, but with a sadness that chilled me. He said, I tell you, Peter, the rooster will not crow this day until you deny 3 times that you know me. I brushed it off. I thought he was speaking in riddles again, or maybe testing my resolve. Deny him? Me? I was the first one to call him the Messiah. I was the inner circle. Judas might betray. Thomas might doubt. But Peter fights. Then came the garden. Gethsemane. The darkness seemed to press against us physically. He asked us to watch and pray. And what did I do? I slept. My eyelids were heavy. My spirit was weak. When the chaos finally erupted, the torches, the shouting, the soldiers, I woke up with adrenaline surging through my veins. This was it. This was the battle. I drew my sword. I swung wildly, aiming for a head but catching an ear. I was ready to die right there. But he stopped me. He healed the man I wounded and surrendered himself. That was the moment my world tilted on its axis. I was ready to fight for a conquering king, but I had no idea how to handle a suffering servant. When they bound his hands and he didn't resist, my courage evaporated. It didn't leave slowly. It vanished like smoke in a gale. Everyone ran. I ran, but I couldn't stay away. I had to know. So primera CORRESPOND. But I made the fatal mistake. I followed at a distance. I kept to the shadows, creeping through the narrow streets of the city, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I watched them drag him to the house of the high priest. The courtyard was enclosed, cold, and hostile. The stones were damp with a night dew. I slipped in through the gate, tongues to Zhang, who knew the family. I tried to make myself small. Me, a big, broad-shouldered fisherman, trying to disappear into the background. There was a fire burning in the center of the courtyard. The guards and servants were huddled around it, warming their hands. The cold was biting. It seeped into my bones. But the shivering wasn't just from the temperature, it was a trembling that started deep in my gut. I needed warmth. I needed to see what was happening to him without being seen myself. So, I approached the fire. The light flickered on the faces of the enemy. They were laughing, joking. While inside the house, the man I believed to be the Son of God was being put on trial. I sat down, keeping my head low, pulling my cloak tight. That's when the first crack appeared. A servant girl, just a doorkeeper, walked past. "Se pauseth." The firelight caught my face for a split second. She squinted at me, tilting her head. "You also were with that Nazarene, Jesus," she said. It wasn't an accusation shouted from a rooftop. It was a casual observation. Panic is a strange thing. It bypasses your brain and seizes your tongue. I didn't think about my loyalty. I didn't think about the miracles. I just thought about self-preservation. The eyes of the soldiers around the fire shifted toward me. I felt exposed. Naked. "I don't know what you're talking about," I snapped, turning my shoulder to her. "I don't know or understand what you are saying." I got up and moved away from the fire, retreating into the darker shadow of the porch. My breath came in short, jagged gasps. It was just a mistake. Premeta told myself. I just need to stay low. I'm not denying him. I'm just being smart. I can't help him if I'm arrested too. We tell ourselves so many lies to mask our cowardice. I stood there in the entryway, the wind whipping around me. I could hear muffled voices from the trial inside. I wanted to leave, but I was tethered to him. I couldn't go, but I was too terrified to stay. Then, she saw me again. The Sama girl, or maybe another mine. Memory is a blur of faces, twisted by fear. She pointed me out to the bystanders standing near the porch. "This fellow is one of them," she insisted. Her voice was louder this time. "I am not." I said it sharply, forcefully. I needed them to believe it, so I could believe it. I needed to separate myself from the man in chains, to save my own skin. An hour passed, an hour of pure torture. I drifted back toward the fire, the cold drawing me in again. I tried to blend in with the chatter, but my accent betrayed me. We Galileans, we don't speak like the Jews. Our vowels are broader. Our speech is rougher. It's the speech of the country, not the city. One of the men standing there, a relative of the man whose ear I had cut off in the garden, looked at me with narrowing eyes. He leaned in, the fire reflecting in his dark pupils. "Didn't I see you with him in the olive grove?" he asked. Others chimed in. "Surely you are one of them. Your accent gives you away." This was the corner. This was the trap. If I admitted it now, with a witness who saw me with a weapon, I was dead. Not just arrested, executed for insurrection. The fear was no longer a trembling. It was a roaring lion devouring my mind. I lost control. I stood up, my fists clenched, and I did the unthinkable. I didn't just say no. I began to call down curses. I swore oaths by the temple, by the altar, by God himself. "I do not know this man of whom you speak," I shouted. "May God strike me dead if I am lying. I do not know him." I wanted to sound convincing. I wanted to sound like a pagan, like a sinner, like anyone but a disciple of Jesus. I threw away 3 years of walking with the light of the world to buy myself a few more minutes of safety in the dark, and the moment the last curse left my lips, the moment the denial hung heavy and poisonous in the air, it happened. Ururu. The rooster crowed. It wasn't a soft sound. It was loud. Harsh. It signaled the morning. But for me, it signaled the end. At that exact moment, the guards were moving Jesus. They were leading him across the courtyard, perhaps transferring him to Pilate or to a holding cell. He was bruised. His face was swollen from where they had struck him. His hands were bound tight. And to turn it, across the smoke of the fire, across the heads of the soldiers, across the distance of my betrayal, he locked eyes with me. I expected anger. I expected him to shout, "Traitor!" I expected fire from heaven to consume me where I stood. But that's not what I saw. He looked at me with absolute, crushing knowledge. He knew. He had known all along. It was a look of infinite sadness, a look that said, "I told you, Peter. I told you that you were weak, but I love you anyway." That look broke me into 1,000 pieces. The stone heart of the rock shattered. The bravado, the sword, the loud promise is it, was all dust. I saw myself for what I truly was, a coward who chose a warm fire over the Messiah. I couldn't breathe. I scrambled backward, tripping over my own feet. I had to get out. I pushed past the servant girl, pushed past the soldiers, and burst out of the gate into the gray, early morning light. I ran blindly through the streets of Jerusalem. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to run from those eyes. I found a dark alleyway, collapsed against a rough stone wall, and the dam broke. I wept. Not just tears, but a convulsing, violent sobbing that tore at my throat. I had failed him. I had denied the only thing that ever gave my life meaning. I was worse than Judas. Judas sold him for money. I gave him away for free, just to avoid a cold stare. I was alone. The silence of the morning was deafening, broken only by my own gasps for air. I thought it was over. I thought I was disqualified forever. How could he ever look at me again? How could I ever lead anything again? But what I didn't know, crouching there in the dirt, was that the story wasn't over. I thought the rooster's crow was the sound of my end. I didn't realize yet that the darkest night is always just before the dawn. The silence of that Saturday was coming, but so was Sunday. If you have ever felt like you've gone too far to be forgiven, if you've ever felt the weight of shame crushing your chest, then you need to hear what happened next. Because my failure was great, but his mercy is something else entirely. We are going to talk about how he put the pieces of my shattered soul back together. But before we go to the shores of Galilee for the redemption, I need you to do something. If this story is resonating with you, if you can feel the weight of that night, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click that notification bell so you don't miss the conclusion of this story in the next video, because you cannot understand the victory of the resurrection until you understand the depth of the denial. Leave a like if you want to support this message, and comment below. Have you ever felt like you failed God? Let's talk about it. I'm Simon Peter, and I denied him 3 times. But he wasn't done with me yet. The tomb was found empty, but my heart remained full of heavy silence. Even knowing he was alive didn't wash away the sound of that rooster. I went back to my boats, back to the nets, trying to drown my shame in the work I used to know. I thought I was disqualified. I thought the kingdom had no place for a coward. But on the shores of Galilee, he was waiting. There was a charcoal fire burning the exact same scent that filled the courtyard the night I betrayed him. My heart stopped, but he didn't bring up the darkness. He didn't ask for an apology. He looked at me with eyes full of dawn and asked, "Simon, do you love me?" 3 times I had denied him. 3 times, he asked. For every cowardly, "I don't know him," he gave me a specific chance to say, "You know that I love you." He didn't just forgive me, he handed me the keys. He trusted me to feed his sheep. My failure wasn't the end. It was the surgery needed to remove my pride so his power could finally fit inside me. If you feel broken today, if you think your mistakes are too great, listen to me. His grace is deeper than your deepest regret. Don't run away from your failure. Bring it to him. It is the raw material for your redemption. I read every story. Until next time, remember, you are loved. If this story touched your spirit, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next journey. Leave a like to help this message reach others who are hurting. And tell me in the comments, what is the failure you need to let go of today?